Stranger! Howdy, stranger. We need your help. Mad Doc Mccree's gang is taking over the town. The mayor and his daughter have been taken hostage out to Mad Dog's hideout. Sheriff, he's locked up in jail. We're gonna have to get him out to help with the gang.
Come get some. Come get yours.
VR reviews, they're like buses. You get none at all and then two come along at once. Here we're looking at Guns and Stories Bulletproof VR with that cinematic intro, very much linked to an old school game it has very big aspirations for, Mad Doc Mccree. One of those big games of the arcades, and in fact the first live action video game released in 1990 by American Laser Games was Mad Doc Mccree. This was one of those games that I regularly used to visit arcades for as a kid just to play. Based on Amiga hardware and a Laserdisc player, this was a full motion video extravaganza with shootouts at the OK Corral and other light gun action. It was a precursor to many other titles and a great deal of fun. It didn't take itself too seriously, with acting that was borderline a bad porno movie level. Released across a plethora of other platforms from the arcade, including the Mega CD and obviously the 3DO, and even the PC with its horrible grainy image quality you can see. These titles spun out and spun on to other titles we saw from Sega, such as Virtua Cop, the classic House of the Dead, and many others like Time Crisis. These all fit perfectly into the VR style that we see here with Bulletproof VR, a title from a small studio that's getting their feet into the VR area, and again, just like Mad Doc Mccree, it does not take itself too seriously. With the game starting off as you sitting in a cinema, munching on popcorn and enjoying the story as it unfolds with an animated cartoon in front of you. This is all based on an old grandpa telling his grandson a tale of woe back in the western days, and like all stories, the more you tell, the older you get, and the more you drink, the more extravagant and grand your tale is, and the harder the outcome. This obviously transpires into the game itself, ramping up levels, difficulty, and even weapons as those tales transform. It's you living that tale and the grandson playing in his head just what his granddad is telling him. It really is an old school Virtua Cop style shooter, except there's no points in here where you move, so it has a very low level of sickness for VR. You literally don the helmet, use your move controllers, and dual wield the way you go, shooting this onslaught of enemies and working your way through this story level. There's multiple acts, and again additional bonuses, missions in there, including a bank heist and other elements that you can get yourself involved in. It's an enjoyable romp, and again it doesn't take itself seriously. You just shoot people in the face, dodge the bullets using your guns, or just move your head out of the way. It's good, clean, fun. It doesn't really have a message or any kind of delivery point. You just get in, shoot things, come out. It's an arcade title through and through. A wave shooter, they just spawn and spawn, and you shoot everything, and you get the comedy value of the old guy wittering away and telling the story as you go, and the young boy just making it more unbelievable as things unfold and the weapons change. And again, that nice little dynamic touch of the story just building into the reason why things happen the way they do, because the tale's just getting longer and longer.
Granddad, could revolvers really shoot like this?
No, revolvers couldn't, but these two .45 caliber babies sure could.
Enemy down!
Hey, Fatso, come out wherever you are. I just want to talk.
Cover me! Move out! Move out! Go, go, go! Move out! Cover me!
Hey, Robbie, I wanted to call him Excalibur or Narsil, but I just called him Saturnine Sammy.
Sound production is good, with the voiceover narration working well, the little boy, the screams of people, the directional audio picking out enemies, and the meaty explosions and gunshots all do a sufficient job to not really offend and sound pleasing enough. The sports style announcer is in there from titles such as Unreal and Halo with double kill, triple kill, There's no humiliation in there, but there is a rampage. So you never know, it might be tucked away somewhere. It uses that legacy inspiration in terms of the difficulty level, using Wolfenstein's Baby to Hardcore Cyborg. You choose your poison. Really what this does is it keeps the game itself very similar, except it takes far more shots to take your enemies down, and it does get very tough on some of the levels when you're completely swamped. But like I say, it's a light, fun-filled title. In terms of the technical aspects, it's Unreal Engine shock horror. That's a surprise, isn't it? Most games appear to be, and it's well suited to VR titles. It does a decent job, texture quality is okay, it's pretty low quality when you're up close to areas. Now the resolution is a strange one. It really looks like 1920 by 1080 on both versions. There's no real difference. You can see a brief side-by-side comparison here, but there's no difference between the two. They're absolutely identical in the headset. But there are points where it seems to drop below that, so I'm not sure whether or not it's a dynamic solution or it's using a slightly lower resolution, something around 810, and then it's using that temporal AA to reconstruct the image back up, but it's very hard to pick out. Most of the time we're getting 1920 by 1080, so I'm inclined to think that's what it is. The excessive chromatic aberration can also affect all those elements, and it can look quite soft at a distance. The resolution when you're looking further into the distance, certainly on a game like this when you're shooting enemies that are quite a way off, it's hard to pick them out because all the pixels tend to blend together. It's not a bad looking game like I say, but it's certainly, because of all the specular elements and the high frequency detail and some of the, the lightning bolts and some of the weapons and the shiny specular on the metallic and wooden objects, it all stands out and makes the game look a little shimmery in the headset. And it doesn't really look to be using the Pro in any way, shape or form over and above that base resolution. In terms of performance, again, it's the same as always. I keep repeating myself. 60 Hz in the gameplay loop itself, the animation, the physics engine, all of the animation loops and the game logic itself all runs at 60, and the headset movement and the dual screen view, the dual camera views for both your eyes are running at 120 Hz or 120 FPS. So again, it's smooth, it's fluid, it feels good to play. There's no sacrifices here, there's no cutbacks to some of the things I covered in Wizard VR, because it's a much lighter game on the overall system, because you're not moving through areas, you're not having to deal with dynamic objects and loads of AI swarming you and destruction. It's a simple on-rails shooter without any rails, really. It's currently £16 in the UK. It's much cheaper to buy on the US PSN store, so you can get it from around $11.99, so $12 with PSN, a little more or less off that, I can't remember what it was, but around $12. It's not bad value for money in terms of that. I wouldn't pay much more for it. You're not going to get loads of time out of this game. It's a simple arcade shooter. But again, I quite like those in VR because I like to jump in, have a game, blast out and come out. It doesn't really offer anything new and exciting, but it does take your time and it is fun, and that's really the point of games, isn't it? To enjoy them and have a laugh, and it does that well and it ticks that box. The controls work well. The move controllers seem to have no issues here in tracking your movement fast, shooting around and moving. You always get those issues occasionally where it's out syncs depending on how far away you are from the camera. But it's an enjoyable game. I would have liked to have seen a little more variety in the gameplay itself, moving from section to section, having fixed points like this and then a on-rails section as you walk through to the next part. Very much like Time Crisis and Virtual Cop, where you follow that trajectory through the game, rolling on a minecart, or even a high noon moment. There's a few options here I instantly thought of. But it's cheap, it does the job, and it's a great VR arcade blaster, and you can't say fairer than that. And with that, I'm out. If you like this or anything else, you can share and see all the things on screen or not. It's entirely up to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Quit stuffing your face. Are you stuffing your face Your again? Stomach is a bottomless pit. Your stomach is a bottomless pit. Just die already.